Are you ready to unlock your full potential and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Welcome to Remarkably Simple, the podcast dedicated to helping you do just that. I'm Moneke Fields, and I believe that with the right strategies, anyone can achieve remarkable results. Whether you're a seasoned leader or just starting a business, this podcast is your guide to achieving your goals with simplicity and efficiency. Let's embark on this journey together and make success simple. Hello, everyone. It's Moneke Fields here. Welcome back to another episode of Remarkably Simple. I am very excited to introduce you to Nina Robert. Nina is a success and mindset coach, a PGI consultant in her own company, Success Catalyst. She is also the author of two great books. The first book, Clean Up Your Life, and the second one called Mindset Fitness for Entrepreneurs. She wrote and published in 6 weeks. So I'm very excited to introduce and have a conversation with you. Thanks so much for joining me, Nina Robert.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Monique, and hello to everyone who's listening to us. So my name is Nina Robert. I'm from Paris. I am a success and mindset coach, and I specialize in helping people set up and achieve high goals.
That is fantastic, and one of my favorite topics. So I'm really excited first to talk about what got you started. What is it about your background or your particular interest that got you set up to be helping people working with achieving high goals?
Well, I have a background in management, so I worked for IT multinational companies for over a decade as project manager and then as a manager. And when you manage people, you have to learn coaching. You have to learn how to understand each one's points of view. You have to understand the challenges, the paradigms that are going on inside everyone's head. And you have to understand and acquire some problem-solving skills, which I did, which was very enriching for me on a personal and professional level. And eventually I discovered that I have this subconscious tendency to coach everyone without even noticing, without even being aware of it. So every time a friend of mine or a colleague will come with a challenge or a problem or asking for advice, I would immediately start thinking about solving their problems, teaching them tips and tricks and giving them solutions, and then holding them accountable and following up with them on what are they doing to manage these challenges, asking them to set up goals, because I love goals. I love setting up goals, but what I love most is achieving them.
Mm-hmm. I can attest to that. It is very rewarding when you can accomplish something that you set out to do. And I share your enthusiasm for cheering someone else along and coaching someone else along in doing that. Speaking of loving to set and achieve goals, I wonder if you can relate or recall any particular challenges or setbacks that you had in this area that ultimately helped you develop the strength that you have now in setting and achieving your own goals and helping others to do the same.
Well, I guess the main challenge for me and for many other people is that we hardly ask ourselves, what do we really want? So setting up the right goal is the main challenge for most people. Some people know exactly what they want and they either go after it or not. That's another thing. Setting up goals and achieving them are two totally different things, but managing to find the right goal, that's a challenge. And for me, I didn't actually dare ask myself, what do I really want, until just a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. I hear what you mean about this. It's like an unspoken element here that sometimes the difficulty that we're having in staying motivated or doing the work that it takes to achieve a particular goal is that we haven't actually identified what it is that we really want in the first place. So we're not aligned to the work that we're doing. And I love that you share how it can be intimidating, perhaps, to ask yourself the question, what do I really want? And I love that you share this sort of vulnerability that until a few years ago you didn't even do this yourself. What made you change? Start asking yourself that question.
I would say more awareness of the fact that I can actually do whatever I want to do if and only if I want it badly enough.
Hmm.
I don't think I actually wanted something that bad before. And once I became aware that I actually have the power to decide what I want and to go after it and achieve it, I started asking the right questions. And it's amazing the amount of ideas that you have in your subconscious mind that are hidden, I would say, just outside your comfort zone. So for me, it was taking a peek at what's out there. And once you see what's out there, it's you can never come back.
Yeah, I hear you. So, getting a taste of adventure, so to speak, then you're hungry for more. So, you have this area of expertise and you help people to achieve their goals. What do you say is it that you teach most of the people that you work with that helps them learn to find success in accomplishing these big things?
So since we're already talking about goals, I teach that this is the most important part of the journey, deciding and setting up the right goal. There are three types of goals. The first type, let's call them ABC to keep it simple. The first type, A goal, is what everyone thinks they can do. So it's the
Hmm.
simple thing like the next car, the next little nicer house, a promotion, something they can figure out, but it's not something that will help you grow. So it's probably not the best goal for you or for anybody. It's nice to have, but it's not. It shouldn't be your life goal or your life purpose. B type goal, the second type, is something that you know you can achieve if you have the right resources, if you have um like a particular plan or a certain amount of money, and you can say like, if I get this and that, then I will be able to achieve it. That's B type goal. It's more interesting than A type goal, but still not going to allow you to grow outside your comfort zone. So we want something scary, we want something big. That's called the C type goal, and the C type goal is just something that you want, and you want so much that you are falling in love with the idea, you're emotionally involved, but you have no idea how to get there, and you've never done it before. These are the prerequisites.
So, some of the success that you predict or anticipate when you're helping individuals identify the right goal is in whether or not it's making your hair stand up, right? Like, is there just a little bit of excitement built into it, just
Exactly. Yeah.
outside of your comfort zone? I get that. And, what do you notice about working with people with this? Are there challenges that you see with individuals sort of being willing to move away from the A type through the B type
Absolutely.
up to the C type goals?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, we're not used to dream big.
Hmm.
That's a big thing. That's a big problem. We usually are content and satisfied with what we have, and we actually have been taught to be that way. We've always been told to be content and be grateful for what you have. I would say always be grateful for what you have, but never be content. Because whatever you're doing, you can absolutely do much better. Whatever it is that you're doing, you can absolutely do much better. That's universal. That's universal law. The main challenge is called the paradigm. The paradigm is the part of us in our subconscious mind that's controlling most of our behavior, most of our attitude, and especially all of our actions. I would say 97% of our actions are controlled by this paradigm. A paradigm is like a set of configurations in our mind software,
Hmm.
and that is learned or accumulated through our genes. We've inherited certain paradigms, certain limiting beliefs, for example, through our environment, through what everybody else is projecting on us as ideas, as limiting beliefs, as traditions, as culture. Everything around us is makes our paradigm what it is. So the paradigm is the comfort zone as well. And it's subconscious, so you're not even aware that it's there, but it's preventing you from taking action, from trying this something new that you want to try, from traveling by yourself, for example, or for buying that house that you've always wanted. It wants to keep you in the comfort zone. I think the intention is good. It wants to protect you from what's
Mhm.
unknown, but you know what's unknown is what you want. So you have to always be aware of it.
I love the illustration here, and it makes me think about something that I, for the majority of my professional life, especially during the times that I was a leader, talking with teams that I managed and led about what I call autopilot. That
Yes.
sometimes we're not even aware of, the patterns, and we are definitely not taking time to be curious or wonder what might
Mhm.
be perhaps a more optimal, outcome or a better process because we're just so programmed. And I think the trick of the subconscious mind, it's a gift that it learns
Yeah.
and it is very good at maintaining the usual pattern.
Yes.
Um, Sometimes when I'm talking with people, I'm encouraging them to realize that they are separate. I say
Hmm.
all the time, you are not your mind.
Yeah.
The patterns in your mind, the thinking in your mind, the usual ways of being in your mind are not the essence of who you are, that you have the ability to observe those patterns. And there's so much power. And I don't want to get carried away because I want to ask you another question and talk with you
Okay.
about how you help individuals navigate when you're noticing this tendency toward what some people call homeostasis or just
Hmm.
defaulting to the patterns that are in your subconscious mind. You mentioned limiting beliefs, for instance, and how
Hmm.
sometimes we find ourselves, back to an example that you mentioned, not willing to travel unless we're going with a group or
Hmm.
staying within a realm of certain types of activities that we've been exposed to all along. How do you help people navigate noticing and finding their way out of those types of patterns?
I will start with something amazing called the self-image. The
Hmm.
self-image is the image that we have of ourselves. And again, it is subconscious. So most of it, we don't even know what's in there, but it's controlling everything that we think we can or cannot do, everything we think that we choose or we want. The self-image is also the way we project ourselves to whoever is around us, to the world, the way we speak, the way we act, the way we talk, the way we walk. So the self-image is interesting in a way that if we consciously bring it out, like analyze it and observe it, we have the power to change it. And this means that you have the power to design your own self-image, design exactly what this person should look like, should talk like, should be like. And you can actually do it yourself. Like you can recreate your self-image and then become that person. So once you set up a goal, you know that your best future version of yourself is the one who's accomplished the goal, right? So you have to
Hmm.
become that person. And once you become that person, the things that this person have or do or whatever that you want to do with your goal, they will come to you. So unless and until you become that person, you'll not be able to achieve that goal easily. But once you become that person, once you learn how to know that person more and become them, everything is easy and everything will come to you like as smoothly and as easily as you can even imagine. That is, I
Yeah.
think, one of the most valuable things I've learned.
So I really love this reference that you make to becoming acquainted with that
Mhm.
future identity, the one that has accomplished the goal that you've established.
Yeah.
One of the things that I coach people to do is to visit that place often, to
Hmm.
get physically connected to it. And it takes quite a lot of imagination. Some people call it visualization, but I think when you can activate all of your imagination, the sights, the sounds, the smells of what it is like to be operating there, it's easier to bring that identity to the present,
Hmm.
to think as if you were already in that place. I think when
Yes.
folks talk about this, it sounds like such a spooky concept, when in actuality, it's more of what we typically call projection, but in the
Mhm.
positive, right? I am projecting this is who I am because it's who I will be. And so I'm choosing now to operate from that place. And that is so very empowering because, as you just described, it gives you the opportunity to create what you choose
Yeah.
as opposed to just being at the effect of whatever's around you.
Hmm. Yes, indeed.
So I think that this is just very interesting and strikes so many great chords that perhaps we could go down all of the little alleys and discuss the nuances here. But I wonder when you give individuals advice about the professional work that they're doing, or perhaps they have personal goals that they're setting for themselves. Um, I have this idea that there's a sort of commonality to it all. That it to some degree, it doesn't even matter whether you're working on a financial goal or a personal goal or a relationship goal, that the
Hmm.
principles of progress and success are really consistent across, all things. So I'm curious about what you what basic but first advice would you give to everyone? There's not a person that we could meet who maybe wouldn't be able to take this advice and
Hmm.
apply it and see a better outcome in whatever is their priority at the time. What would you say is that advice?
I would say that any person has the ability to choose their thoughts. That is very powerful. And we tend to get trapped inside our head, inside our thoughts. And usually we get anxiety, we get stress because we keep living in our imagination, but we keep living the worst case scenario, right? So, like preparing for an exam or preparing for a job interview or a conflict that's about to happen or that email that I have to respond
Hmm.
to. I'm living inside my head. I'm just projecting into the worst case scenario. But instead, I have the power to accept, reject, or ignore any idea that I want. So if someone's telling me something that is not serving me, just projecting their negativity on me, I can choose to ignore, change the subject, or reject the idea, say, that's interesting, but don't get emotionally involved with it, or accept it if it's going to serve you. I think this is the best advice I can give anyone.
Yeah, I love the suggestion there that just because the idea presents in your head,
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be true.
Yeah.
I meet with a lot of people who are having entire exchanges on their own, right? They're imagining what the other person thinks, how they feel, what they believe, what they're going to do. And to your point, projecting the worst case scenario when it's also very healthy to say what else could be true. And I love this point that you made, but how does it serve you, right? When you think
Mhm.
this particular perspective, does that help or hurt you as it relates to getting toward your goal? Because to your point, you have the power to choose your perspective. And I
Mhm.
think that takes practice, right? Being able to regularly ask yourself that question and choose in the way that's most productive.
It does. Yeah, it takes a lot of practice, but awareness is contagious. Like once you have it,
Mm,
there's no coming back. You become more and more aware of all your thoughts throughout your day. But we, as human beings, we have like a gazillion thoughts every day. So it's not obvious to keep track of every thought. That's not possible, but we can always keep track of our mood, our emotions, our feelings, the way we feel. Like whenever I'm thinking something that is not serving me, I will immediately start to feel bad or start to feel anxious or frustrated or at least not interested or not motivated. So I just have to switch the feeling, have to laugh for a few minutes, have to take a walk, get some air, talk to friends, read a good book. And as soon as I get my feelings on a higher vibration or a higher frequency, I'm immediately thinking better thoughts.
and then taking better actions. I love
Exactly.
this. I've never heard it said this way. Awareness is contagious, not from person to person, but one really healthy practice that I love to encourage people to do is to pick one of the important areas of their life, one
Mhm.
area of focus, and
Yeah.
intentionally practice there, being aware and doing exactly what you just described, monitoring your feelings, your emotions, your responses.
Mhm.
Just the power of noticing in one area, it tends to spread like a contagious sort of
Yes.
situation, except it's a really positive thing so that there's not necessary work to do
Mhm.
in every area, but instead all of the other areas are benefited because of the one specific place that an individual is practicing. So I'm going to hang on to this. You've
All right.
coined the phrase awareness is contagious. Maybe somebody else said it, but I heard it from you. I love it.
Thank
So
you.
I think all of this is so fascinating. And obviously, as I said earlier, there are so many channels that we could go down. And you've written two great books to help us, make progress in areas of our life that we're focused on. So I wonder where you would tell people to find you. Where should they come find out more and follow Nina Robert?
So they can find my website, ninarobertcoaching.com. They can find me on social media, always Nina Robert or Nina Robert Coaching. My two books are called Clean Up Your Life and Mind Fitness for Entrepreneurs, and both are in English and available on Amazon.
That is wonderful. So before we go, I want to ask one more question, and that would be if you could share with us a favorite story of progress, success, or accomplishment from yourself or somebody that you've worked with,
Mhm.
implementing this practice of awareness and just attention to goals. So tell me what you've got. I want to hear a good one.
Yeah, I have a good one. I started with a quote from my mentor, Bob Proctor, who said, "If you can see it in your head, you can hold it in your hand." And I loved that quote, but I kept looking for ways to manifest it, to see it happen. It sounds amazing and easy. And I was asking myself, like, what's the catch? Is it that easy? If I can just hold it, the idea in my head, I can hold something in my head, in my hand that is a realization of my goal. And the opportunity presented itself to me last February when I hosted an event, 5-day challenge event that I called Mind Fitness for Entrepreneurs. And I was preparing some content to present to my clients during this event. And at the end of the week, I had like enough content to start a draft for a first book. And I said, okay, this is the opportunity for me to test that. If I can hold the idea in my mind, I can maybe hold the book in my hand. And I gave myself 6 weeks. That was a very difficult deadline, very short. And I gave myself a daily goal of writing 1,000 words. As simple as that, to keep myself disciplined and accountable. At the end of the 6 weeks, the book was published on Amazon. The thing was in my hand.
I love that you mentioned the inspiration that you took from your mentor, Bob Proctor. I've heard that phrase that he says, if you can
Yeah.
see it in your head, you can hold it in your hand. But
Yeah.
even more than that, I loved how you shared some practical bits in there as well, because you set a daily goal for yourself.
Mhm.
And at the end of 6 weeks, you looked back and it was accomplished.
Yeah, that's important to stay
That is so
accountable.
fantastic. Yes.
Because I don't wake up every day super motivated to do whatever I have to do, right? So when
Right.
motivation is not there, there has to be discipline, and I have to keep to hold myself accountable. This is what I did.
Yes. And I think writing or in whatever way you express daily attention to that goal is absolutely giving you what you need, the tool to
Mhm.
hold yourself accountable. Even when motivation, someone just said this, when motivation doesn't show up, that's when you need discipline, right? It's just
Yeah,
not always going to be there. Nina, this
exactly.
has been a very quick conversation, but so fascinating and hopefully enriching to everybody who listens. Thank you so much for joining me today.
And thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Monique.